This is Pet Life Radio. Let's talk pets.
Welcome to ER Vet on Pet Life Radio. I'm your host, Dr. Justine Lee, and I'm a board-certified emergency critical care veterinary specialist and toxicologist. Thanks for joining us. Today, you guys are in for a huge treat because we're going to be speaking with Dr. Marty Becker, America's veterinarian, and we'll be right back after these messages.
Take a bite out of your competition. Advertise your business with an ad in Pet Life Radio podcasts and radio shows. There is no other pet-related media that is as large and reaches more pet parents and pet lovers than Pet Life Radio. With over 7 million monthly listeners, Pet Life Radio podcasts are available on all major podcast platforms, and our live radio stream goes out to over 250 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, Odyssey, TuneIn, Stitcher, and other streaming apps. For more information on how you can advertise on the #1 pet podcast and radio network, visit PetLifeRadio.com/advertise today.
Let's talk pets on PetLifeRadio.com.
Welcome back to ER Vet on Pet Life Radio. Today, we're going to be speaking with Dr. Marty Becker, America's veterinarian, who has been working seamlessly and so hard for the past several decades, trying to improve the quality of care in our pets' homes. So, Dr. Becker, thank you so much for joining us today.
Gosh, it's so great to be here. I love how your enthusiasm rises, as you talk about what you do. And I don't ever think we're blessed that there's so many people out there that have that dream. I always thought about being a veterinarian, and we've got to live the life. And here we are 4 decades into it and still love it.
It's something that I absolutely love. I love my career. I know you do too. But just so our audience knows who you are, do you mind just telling us a little bit about who you are, where you trained, a little bit about your millions of books that you've sold, and just giving us a little bit of background about you?
Well, a lot of people probably have been into a salon or something, and they get those books where you look and see, I'd like this hairstyle. I've been a hair model and also for tanning products. I'm actually joking. I am so freaking bleached out, you wouldn't believe it. I grew up on a small family farm in southern Idaho, down in potato country, Idaho potatoes, you bet. That's what we grew in a small dairy herd. Wanted to be a dairy practitioner from the time I was about 6. So 6 carries you to 20. I got into veterinary school early, and that dream of being a dairy practitioner was gone in 30 minutes. So what happens? How do you carry something for 14 years and it evaporates? The dean, Leo Bustad, who's probably unknown to most of the listeners, he's been called America's James Herriot. He gave a talk on the human-animal bond. He was a Jewish prisoner of war at Sobibor, and a Belgian Malinois that was supposed to terrify him befriended him. Strange circumstances. But at the end of his talk, he asked for volunteers for the People Pet Partnership that matched elderly people with homeless pets. And I found myself going from the back of the room to the front of the room to volunteer. So I started to work with shelter pets day one. So he taught me about the human-animal bond and also the healing power of pets. He was really the first person to look at the human-animal health connection as one of the co-founders of the Delta Society. So this love of the bond, when I started doing speaking in the veterinary profession and writing, I was certainly one of the people that helped popularize the bond. When Chicken Soup for the Soul came out, those books, they were looking for somebody to do Chicken Soup for the Pet Lover Soul. And people kept saying, you should talk to Marty Becker, So I did that. That led to Good Morning America appearance. I didn't do so poorly. I didn't get invited back. That lasted 17 years. Then did another book and other sorts of TV shows, started a nationally syndicated column, which continues to this day. So I've done network TV for 27 years. I've had a syndicated column through Universal for over 20 years, written 23 books that have sold over 8 million copies, a few New York Times bestsellers, 3. And I'm old, Justine. I'm old, and I was going to slow down and enjoy that beautiful log home on a horse ranch in the mountains of northern Idaho. Yes, it's just like it sounds. The movie The Revenant was, if you saw those river scenes with Leonardo DiCaprio, that was filmed 20 miles from my house, and the river runs through it, filmed about 30 miles from my house. But dang, I listened to a lecture on fear. Dr. Karen Overall, the Board of Behaviors, ruined my life because my family actually had an intervention to slow down because of fear-free.
Tell me what exactly fear-free is. A lot of pet owners haven't heard of it, while most veterinary professionals have. What's your elevator ride description for what fear-free is for dog and cat owners and any species out there?
Yeah, what fear-free is simply looking at both physical and emotional well-being of animals. I don't think any of us, if we saw a baby in distress, they're crying, all heads swivel. Oh gosh, we feel this empathy and we want to help. Has the baby got gas, or is it hungry? Does it have a dirty diaper? Does it need a nap? Nobody just goes, oh, hell with it. Cry your eyes out, Thursday night football's on, or shut up, we're having dinner. We're all concerned about it, and pets get distress. And if it was thunderstorms or fireworks or hunting season or leash aggression, having a bad experience on the Starbucks patio, it was just like, oh yeah, well, and now it's over. And they're every animal, let's focus on pets here, but it's true of every animal, is the equivalent of a 1-year-old child. Here's the similarities. They're taken against their will. Some would call it hell care, number one. Number two, they have zero idea why the procedure benefits them. Number three, they can't anticipate or expect the relief of fear, anxiety, and stress and pain, even if it's moments away. And number four, they have no control. So if I could explain it in a story, whether you got a COVID shot or a flu shot, let's just say you got a COVID shot or flu shot if you didn't get a COVID shot, or you got a measles shot. I don't care what vaccine you got. You go by free will, you know why it benefits you. When I go to the pharmacy to get that flu shot every year, it's 15 minutes. And then COVID's 30 minutes. And then if you got scared or had second thoughts, you can just walk away at any time. So a pet is taken against their will for a vaccination. They don't know why it benefits them. They don't know that, hey, this is only going to take 30 minutes max, and then we're out of here. And they can't flee the threat. So with basically fear-free is just as much emphasis on the emotional well-being of the animal as the physical well-being. Exactly what we would do with a child, with a grandchild, with a nephew or niece.
Now, this is so important because as veterinarians, we're always working on making sure that your pets are healthy. Now, why is it so important for pets to not only be healthy, but also to be happy?
Gosh, I got to go back to Karen Overall. I don't know if you remember, Justine, Randy Posh, it was a internet sensation in a book called The Last Lecture. I don't remember what university he was at, but he was dying and he gave this one talk, if I could only give one talk, what is it? Karen Overall, it wasn't her last lecture, but man, she had me whipsawed from the start. Her opening line was, fear is the worst thing a social species could experience, and it causes permanent damage to the brain. Then she followed by, those of us in veterinary medicine or those who care for animals are causing repeat severe psychological damage to pets by what we were doing or not doing. And the third line was, behavior produces a physiologic response. So behavior is medicine. And anybody that's worked with pets or your own pets have seen signs of fear, anxiety, and stress. The dog is shivering, shaking, panting, yawning, salivating, leaning away, furrowed brow, tail tucked, hiding. We used to joke about cats being effed going to the vet, fight, flight, freeze, or fidget. Thank God we got gabapentin now, and add another F, like in, hey, far out, man. I tried to Cheech and Chong, man, this is nice, gabapentin. But it's now you cannot be healthy unless you're also happy. And I think, I've been very open about my mental health issues. I'm a perfect example. There's depression runs in our family. I don't have a metabolic issue like my wife has, low thyroid and takes thyroid. And we've got one of our kids is epileptic and takes something for seizures. Well, I just take something for depression. And pets have this wide range of emotions. It's really funny, Justine. You're more of a scientist even than I am in veterinary medicine, but I was at the Smithsonian Institute debating somebody early in my career, do pets have emotions? And I remember this knitted brow intellectual was up there and he said, we anthropomorphize things and pets don't have emotions like we do. And I got up there and I got up there. So you must not have a dog, because when you come home and you're late getting home, or I'm a veterinarian and I come home and those dogs have all these smells on me, they come up to me like, where have you been, you dirty cheater, And so the public sees it. Veterinary medicine, we knew these animals were in distress, but we thought of it as collateral damage. At least I did. Before Fear Free, I was stretching cats out into 2 zip codes. I was part of a rugby scrum or a gang tackle on a pet. By God, we'll get those nails trimmed. And once you have your eyes opened up to what happens when that pet is that distressed, when they literally think they're going to die, whether it's from a thunderstorm or going to the veterinarian or going to the groomer, pretty easy to understand the damage that's done.
Couple of things that I just wanted to touch base on. Do you mind just talking about what gabapentin is? A lot of people don't know what this prescription medication is, and how are you advocating for the use of gabapentin to reduce the fear in dogs and cats? How is it used and what is it used for?
As we were going around, Fear Free really started. That spark was October 2009. And that led to, she said, fear is the worst thing a social species could experience. And after a couple of Canadian beers, I got this idea, fear free. That'd be good if you don't have any fear. And by the way, not all fear is bad. I'm getting ready to go to Disneyland with my granddaughter. Roller coasters, that's good fear. Haunted houses, that's good fear. Even anxiety is fine. And so if you can control it, Sudoku puzzles, the New York Times Sunday crossword puzzle, playing bridge or something like that. As we were around teaching people, I had an old Fred Flintstone. So I used to watch the Flintstones as I was a little kid. And at the start, he'd slide down that thing, yabba yabba do. And so we had this thing as gabba gabba do. We had this stupid way of remembering gabapentin, but it's something we don't say it sedates a pet. It's something to calm the pet. And you can give it to a cat in a really small dose. As a matter of fact, this won't mean much, I don't think, to you. Well, maybe it will to your listeners. The average dose is about 100 milligrams. People in trap, neuter, and release will give 500 milligrams. Has a wide safety range. But it's like having a glass of wine, or maybe a glass of wine and a Valium. Or I'm here in Oregon right now, where every block has a bartender and a bud tender. I swear to gosh, you go down there and your bud tender helps you find something to just take the chill off. That's it. So these cats, rather than fight, flight, freeze, or fidget, and I'll tell you, Justine, I used to love frozen cats. That cat that would not move, they'd just sit there and you could do any single thing you wanted to it. I didn't know at the time that's as bad as it gets, which starts out alert. We hear a gunshot, we hear a scream. The cat sees the vet come in. That's alert. Then it's fight or flight. And once you're cornered and you feel like you can't move, you freeze. That's why people in World War II would line up next to a trench with a firing squad and not run. You can't move. So those cats, it's a gift. The pet parent just gives it a couple hours before they come to the veterinarian. And those cats are relaxed. They'll take treats. They'll often headbutt you. It's transformative. And Justine, some people say, well, we're fear-free. We just don't call it fear-free. Well, fear-free is not just gabapentin and easy cheese and spraying yourself with pheromones. But there's 2 things that most veterinarians have changed. One is gabapentin is used a lot in cats and dogs as well. And number 2, people give oral Bordetella instead of intranasal Bordetella, because squirting water in the nostrils of a mammal is not very pleasant.
I will also advocate. I'm a huge fan of gabapentin. And please be aware it is a prescription medication, so you do have to see your veterinarian or call to discuss this. But I'm a huge advocate, especially for cats. Now, this is a really safe pain medication that's used both in human and veterinary medicine. And most of the time for vets, we're dispensing it if your dog or cat has nerve pain or different types of pain. It's also an anti-seizure medication, and it has what we call a wide margin of safety. It's really, really safe. So the dose that I use chronically for cats with osteoarthritis and in my own cat is only about 25 milligrams orally twice a day or even once a day. And in a previous episode of Pet Life Radio ER Vet, I've talked about how my cat was urinating and defecating outside of the litter box, and it turned out it was all from osteoarthritis. So with Fair Free, I know, especially for stressed out cats, you can talk to your veterinarian about giving high dose. And so we usually give 100 milligrams the night before the appointment, another 100 milligrams 2 to 3 hours before the appointment. And there's more prescription medications that are out there like trazodone. All these medications have really high margins of safety. They're very, very safe, and they really decrease the anxiety in your pet. If you have a pug that doesn't like to have its nail trimmed, and I'll fill you in, no pug likes to have their nails trimmed, you have to give this the night before and 3 hours before the appointment. I promise you, it will make everyone's life so much happier. It's going to make your pet's life happier. And again, we always say that healthy pets visit vets. And so in order to minimize that stress from going to the veterinary clinic, from having some anxiety from it, it is so helpful. So when in doubt, talk to your veterinarian about some of these prescription medications like gabapentin or trazodone or different medications out there. We're going to take a short break, but we'll be right back with some great information from Dr. Becker. So stay tuned.
Molly, here's your dinner. Zeus, that's not your food.
Don't let that happen to your precious cat. Elevate your cat's eating experience with the Cat Tree Tray. The Cat Tree Tray keeps your cat's food off the floor and conveniently located on the cat tree. It's the perfect way to eat. It's a beautiful wrought iron tray that easily attaches to your cat tree and keeps dogs and other critters out of your cat's dish. A must for multi-pet households. There's a 6-inch tray for large bowls and a 4-inch tray for smaller bowls. Purchase your Cat Tree Tray today. Go right now to cattreetray.com. That's cattreetray.com. cattreetray.com.
Let's talk pets
Let's talk pets
on Pet Life Radio.
Pet Life Radio.
PetLifeRadio.com.
Welcome back to ER Vet on Pet Life Radio. Thanks for joining us. Today, we're speaking with Dr. Marty Becker about fear-free and how we really want to use what I call pharmacological intervention or drugs or great techniques that are behavioral techniques to help minimize and reduce the stress before your pet goes into the ER or to your routine veterinary clinic for regular exam. Now, I've heard you say, Dr. Becker, that one of the most damaging things that a pet can be exposed to is cortisol. And cortisol is that hormone that's released when we're really, really stressed. Now, why is that cortisol potentially harmful?
I got a comment first, your pharmacologic intervention. I love that. There's 100 boarded veterinary behaviorists in the United States. There's 50 residents, which shows you the popularity of behavior now. And Fear Free has 65 of those 100 on our advisory group, along with a dozen boarded veterinary anesthesiologists. But they say their little mantra is, think of sedation as a first option, not a last resort. Sedate early and often. And one of them gets up there with this almost this plea cry, goes, just give drugs a chance. Just give drugs a chance. But what a difference.
Chemistry.
And I loved how you talked about your own cat, that's real honest, that, you think it's a behavior issue and it's pain, and that's one of the things, by the way, about Fear Free is caused by something painful or something disturbing. You trim nails too short. That's painful. Now the pet seeing the nail trimmers is disturbing. And anybody who listens to this knows disturbing is now even going into the room or the drawer where the nail trimmers are. You don't even have to see the nail trimmers. Painful is associated with the syringe, a blood draw, vaccination, an injection of something to prevent vomiting or an antibiotic. Now, disturbing is C in the syringe. So, pain is underdiagnosed and undertreated, and that's a big part of fear. I will tell you about cortisol in the best story. It was one of those, Justine, you and I have been veterinary medical communicators, and every once in a while you get something juicy. It's like, oh my God, did I just hear that? So during COVID, I reached out to the past president of the Mayo Clinic. He's quadruple boarded at Rochester, the mothership in Rochester, internal medicine, oncology, hospice, and palliative care. How do I protect my family? He goes, hey, Marty, God, it's funny. I was just talking to Dr. Roizen at the Cleveland Clinic. So you and I know, I'll tell your listeners, the Cleveland Clinic and Mayo Clinic are like the two top medical institutions in the globe. And he goes, we're trying to get the administration to activate pets to treat stress during COVID. What? What did you just say? And he's talked about, okay, Marty, you interviewed me for the book, The Healing Power of Pets. You know that the enemy of the immune system is cortisol. And so we've got, how do we reduce fear, anxiety, and stress in the population? Well, 70% of Americans have pets. It's a medicine that tastes good. It goes down easy. It has no side effects. It is trusted. And what's it cost to activate it? A bacon strip or pepperoni? And it never happened. Instead you got some crazy drugs and stuff you're going to do to protect your family from COVID, right? But isn't that interesting that the medical community was looking at deploying pets to reduce fear, anxiety, and stress in humans, which would reduce cortisol. So, that cortisol can be, when they go into the veterinarian and they think they're going to die, or they're in grooming and they think they're going to die, there's going to have a hell of a peak of cortisol. When it's bad is when it's long-term, unrelenting. So you might have a cat that, you found out now during COVID when you're home that there's certain times when a neighborhood cat strolls through the yard and they're territorial and they get upset, or another cat's been beating up on it. I found people that found out during COVID, now I know why the dog tears the house apart on Wednesday afternoon. It's because that's when the lawn service comes in the apartment complex and zzz, right outside the window, trimming out there, and freaks the pet out. Now I know because they come pick up garbage. Clank, clank, clank. And this is why they find urine where the pet had actually urinated. So once you start looking at the signs of fear, anxiety, and stress, a whole world opens up to you as a pet parent or as a pet professional.
Right. Great information. Now, last question. Knowing that you and I are both looking out for pet health and happiness in our pets, whether or not it's dogs, cats, horses, cows, goats, whatever you have, if you had someone who was about to adopt a new puppy, and again, we saw a lot of that during COVID when people were working from home, what are just a few tips that you want to conclude with when it comes to having that pet live the healthiest, happiest, fullest life possible? What do you recommend as a vet?
What I'm recommending now is different than what I recommended a decade ago. I'll tell you what I would have said a decade ago. I'll tell you what I say now. I would have said to get your pet spayed and neutered early, like at 4 months of age. And I would have told you to, food, water, shelter, regular veterinary care. But now I know it's so much different than that. So the knowledge evolves. You and I know grain-free diets cause damage. We know early spay neuter now that we look back. We were thinking it would prevent prostate cancer and mammary cancer, which are rare and easy to treat. And instead, we got some bad things that are difficult to treat, some bad cancers and joint problems. So I would say this, I still am a practicing veterinarian. When I talk to pet parents, I tell them, number one, ask your veterinarian what to put in your pet's bowl. It's probably going to change 5 times in their lifetime, and tell them where you're going to shop. Listen, I buy my pet food in the grocery store. Give me some recommendations. I go to a big box store, or I buy online, or I buy at a pet store. Don't waste your money on super premium foods. And so you want to not feed out of a food bowl. You want to measure your food out and feed with a food puzzle or food dispensing device. And you want to keep your pets close to what they weighed at a year of age. So on the thinner side. And I can honestly tell you, our dogs, our cats, our horses, everything at Almost Heaven Ranch is on the thin side. And 2 is some kind of daily oral care, or at least 2 or 3 times a week. You're not going to brush your pet's teeth. My wife does. She's an outlier. in veterinary medicine, I think it's somewhere, isn't it, Justine, around 3% of people brush their pet's teeth, 3 or 5%. It's not very much even in the veterinary profession. So you give something that's equivalent of an edible toothbrush, or there's some great new products out now that dogs just love that have the veterinary oral health care seal of approval. And then you've got to provide enrichment. That's the third thing. So keep your pets on the thinner side, some kind of frequent oral care. And cats, what you used to say, food, water, shelter, veterinary care. No, they have to have a place to hide. They have to have a place to scratch, a place to climb. Zoos do a better job of enrichment than most homes. And so find out resources of how you can let your pet express its genetic exuberance, what it was born with, and do it in a way that, like using food puzzles, you feed the body and you feed the mind.
You know, it's interesting. My general tips before anyone tells me they want to get a puppy is I honestly tell them, I don't care what you feed, as long as it makes your dog defecate less than twice a day and have a good hair coat and it's AAFCO approved, that you commit to 2 semesters of puppy obedience for appropriate training and a minimum of 2 15-minute increments of exercise, so 30 minutes a day. The fourth thing is obviously making sure that your pet is up to date and protected and on preventative care. But those are my 4 general rules when it comes to keeping your pet healthy in terms of their physical health. But absolutely love what you do in terms of fear-free, because we also want to make sure that our pets are happy.
Justine, I have to just cut in. Thank you for reminding me about exercise, because I wrote a book called Fitness Unleashed. And I do think you need to get a pet panting tired every day. That's what I tell people. You know, a little dachshund that's chubby is not going to take much, and a big golden retriever that's fit's going to take more. But I believe in that. It's everything you just said right there. Just say, and it's not what you just described is doable. It's easily doable. And thankfully, millennials love to follow what's best for these pets who they think of as their kids. I think that's our target audience.
Dr. Becker, love what you do and keep on making those pets healthier and happier. Well, that brings us to the end of today's show. Find me at drjustinelee.com, on Facebook or Instagram at Dr. Justine Lee, or email me your pet questions at drjustine@petliferadio.com. With that, we're out of time, and we want to thank Dr. Marty Becker and Mark Winter, our producer, for making this show possible. See you at the next episode.
Let's Talk Pets, every week on demand, only on PetLifeRadio.com.